Hey guys, welcome to the recap of round 6 and 7 from my last tournament, the Plagne Open. Before we jump into the analysis of these games, I want to share with you what I had to say about my games at the end of the day. So enjoy and see you in a little bit. Just finished another double round day. 1.5 out of 2. Not bad, not bad. Quite happy about it, of course. The morning, I played against a fellow Hungarian, a fellow international master. Very interesting game. Such a roller coaster. But yeah, the game ended in a draw. And then in the afternoon, I played against a almost 2300 teenager French kid, and yeah, I kind of checkmated him. I don't know. I attacked. That was weird. What was even more weird that I mixed up my line and I messed up the move order, and it was the scariest, like, I don't know, 20-25 minutes of my time. He was calculating it, and I was just walking around like, please, please, please don't do it. Please don't do it. And he didn't. I was like, what? I'm so lucky. But of course, had I started with the good move order, it would have been a completely fine game. We would have transposed into the game. And I also had a game like that before. So anyway, so silly. But yeah, I got away with that, and I managed to beat him eventually. So not bad overall, not bad. I have 5 points currently out of 7, which is also not bad. Fairly surprising, to be honest. But yeah, we'll see. Last 2 rounds coming up. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, let's go over these games. I'm sure we can learn. There are definitely things to learn from these games. So yeah, see you guys on the analysis board. And welcome everyone on the analysis board. We start with round 6. In this round, I played against a fellow Hungarian and international master, Gellért Karácsonyi. In this tournament, there were a total of 6 Hungarians, including myself, and I felt like I got a little bit unlucky with the pairing because I didn't really want to play another Hungarian, but what can you do? I mean, and that's the beauty of an open tournament. And to spice it up even more, I used to be his coach many years ago. I used to teach Gellért, and so that made it a little bit more special. Of course, Gellért got really strong over the years, and kind of like that was kind of like my mindset to make it a little bit easier for me to deal with the pressure a little bit. Is to I said to myself, like, okay, well, if he beats me, then I was a good teacher, right? If I beat him, I'm like, there's still some things to teach him. And if it's a draw, I went easy on him. So that was kind of like my motivation, just to make my psyche a little bit better. Anyway, jokes aside, he starts with the move e4. That's how he always starts. I mean, he experimented with some d4s as well, but generally he was always an e4 player. So I mainly expected him to go e4 against me, and also it was somewhat of an important round for both of us, especially for him, as white, and also he has more rating than me now. And round 6, it's important to win. So I expected him to go a little bit more intense, and I expected him to choose a crazier line, and I was right. So c6, I went with the Caracon, d4, d5, and then e5. So there were quite a few things that I had to like check before the game, but I had a very strong feeling about a particular opening, and I ended up being correct. So bishop f5 and g4. So he only had one game like this, or
like maybe 2 if I'm not mistaken in the databases, but I just felt like this is going to be the line, because again, as I said, he has to win, and he has to make the position very very unbalanced, right? So I was like, okay, G4, but I expected this. So I was like, yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy.
At least I prepped, I prepped for it. And I was kind of like well aware of the theory. Bishop e4, f3, bishop g6, e6, f takes e6, h4, h5. So this is all theory, all well known. Bishop d3, bishop takes d3, queen takes d3, and then queen d6. So the idea of queen d6 is to play e5, as you can see. So I really want to get rid of the double pawns on the e file. Now this is where he started thinking. So and at this point I knew he was either wasn't prepared, or for this particular line, or this version of the line, or just didn't remember the line. I wasn't really sure what was happening, but he started thinking here. So there are 2 main lines here. It's either knight e2 or queen g6. I just want to briefly, I don't want to talk about the whole theory, but just briefly, I want to show you the line: queen g6, king d8. King d8 is important to be able to play knight d7, and now bishop g5. Now, bishop g5 is also a key move for white to make, because as I said, black wants to play e5. But now I cannot play e5 because of queen takes d6 check, right? Because of the pin. So that's really interesting. And then black goes knight d7. And of course, there are many more moves here. So so this is one of the main theories here. But he went with knight e2 in this line, which is still, of course, known. Now, knight d7, we can kind of transpose here, with queen g6 check again, king d8, and then bishop g5. You kind of like transition to the other line, but instead he went with bishop f4, which is still a line that I prepped for. I was still in known territory. I felt very, confident here. And then he got e5 in his face, and it's funny because he didn't expect it. He didn't expect this move from me, so that was nice. Of course, again, he wasn't really familiar with this line, so he said that he only expected queen b4, which is a move, but if I'm not mistaken, queen b4 is not as good, or it's not even good. So e5 is the key move. D takes e5, knight takes e5, and now queen b3. And this is where, again, like, the reality hit me. And this is something that I talked about in one of the previous videos, is that, just know your theory. Especially, like, this is so weird when you even prepped for this. Like, I genuinely, like, went over this line numerous times, actually. Of course, my excuse could be that I had to check other lines as well, but still, like, and here I just went blank. Like, it was just darkness, and I tried to remember, like, what's going on. The only line that I remembered was queen c3, and if queen c3 attacks the knight, I have d4, which is a nice idea because you can't take here because I have this, right? I mean, you can technically, but if you take here, I have this nice little combination. Of course, you can take on e5, but black is fine here. Then the theory goes on. There are a few more moves, but black should equalize pretty much no problem. So this is the line that I remembered, and queen c3, d4, and then queen b3, and then long castle. So this is the line I somewhat remembered, and I know I have queen d5 here, and I was like, okay, yeah, I know the line. But I also knew that queen b3 immediately is also an option, and here again, as I said, I just went like complete dark mode. It was like I have no idea what to do here, And of course, I reacted not poorly, but definitely not the best. So I castled long, which seems like the most natural thing to do, but the best move would have been h takes g4. It's a crazy move, and then there are some lines here. Either queen takes b7 and then rook b8, or white can also take back on g4. Then black goes knight f6, or even g5. Those are some interesting, really interesting lines here. So these are the main lines. But again, I just completely forgot. I think, as I don't know, as a conclusion in my mind, that I was just really out of like form or shape, in this sense. Like I was just really not used to like this everyday prepping and knowing the theory. I'm very good, or hopefully, yeah, I'm decent at creating files and analyzing openings and all that, and especially for my students. But like me memorizing it and actually playing it, that's a different ball game. So that's definitely something that I also have to get used to if I want to compete more often. So anyway, I castled long, and then he played knight d2, and this is where basically the position is now is a little bit sketchy, because white is going to castle long, and then all kinds of knight c4s and knight e4s are coming after the rook is basically here, right? So and that is just the problem. If I play h takes g4, you don't have all this, right? So if I start with this capture, you don't have all this knight e2 long castle stuff. So you don't have time to prepare everything here. So that would have been the idea. Anyway, knight e2, and then I developed with knight f6, long castle, and here I got a little bit concerned with my position, rightfully so. My position probably is not so good anymore. And it was just one move. Basically, it was just one move, and my position was almost already in ruins. So this is also kind of like the trade-off, right? So you go for a somewhat, uh, unbalanced position, and that's why Gellert made the right decision of going for going the line like for a line like this, right, where everything is hanging, a lot is going on. If I know, I deserve it. If I don't, well, then I can easily uh, lose my equality or even my advantage in some moments. So yeah, and it kind of like paid off for him. So because I did forget h takes g4, and now my position is not looking great. So I played knight fd4 and knight fd7 just to be very safe with the e5 knight, try to stabilize, but this is just not a good position. Luckily, Gellert reacted not so well, because he played the move queen e3, which is just imprecise. But had he played knight e4, I think I would have been in a bigger trouble, because when I go queen g6, that was my idea, so I can now move my queen. But okay, he takes, I take back, and he goes knight c5, b6, and now he has knight f4 with a tempo, and queen f7, and then he has knight e6, and the lack of development, even though I'm up a pawn, the lack of development and white's active pieces are just very hard for me to deal with. So this was not ideal, to put it that way. But luckily, Gellert reacted with queen e3, and now here I miss my chance. So I got spooked by this queen e3 move, and the fact that the pawn on a7 is hanging, and of course, like from a human perspective, it's very difficult to give that pawn up, but we all know that development and piece activity is more important than material. Now again, my excuse is that I felt like it's not just any material, it's the pawn on a7, very close to my king. So immediately I was like, oh no, I cannot give that up. But I definitely should have given up because you don't really have a great follow-up after queen takes a7. That's the point, right? And after e6, at least I get to develop my pieces. So let me show you. I play e6. I want to play queen c5. I'm happy with all the trades in the world. I'm still up a pawn. So you take on a7, and I just simply go queen c5, and now I'm completely okay, right? So again, if queen trade happens, I'm fine. Queen a8 is just one check because I go king c7, and you don't have a great follow-up. And I have a good position now. Let's say if you try to even like go overboard a little bit, you try to push it a little too far, you go like queen a4, I take here once, you take back, I get to develop, and all of a sudden my pieces are actually really active. I have great center, I have centralized pieces, I have a good position. Now, I'm not claiming that after e6 I have a better position, but after e6 I definitely do claim that my position is reasonable, or at least I would say it's actually good enough. Very complex position still, and in a game, it could go either way, of course, but e6 still would have been the best. Instead, I went with the very passive and really like reactive move b6. From a human perspective, it's understandable, but it's just straight up a mistake, unfortunately. Now, he again, luckily for me, he didn't take advantage of my mistake. He went with knight e4, which seems like a great move, but it just actually gives the advantage away, and I reacted this time well. But had he played queen c3, now I'm in a big trouble. I'm actually in a very big trouble.
I don't like where this is going.
The pin on the h2 b8 diagonal is just really, really problematic. So the knight and the queen is really problematic. And also the potential discovered ideas with knight e4 and knight c4, I'm also in big trouble. I can play b5, so at least I get to play around knight c4. But after knight e4, I can take, of course. Queen has to drop back. And now knight c5, and my position falls apart because, again, my king now is also very weak. I'm still really underdeveloped. And also, I have, because of the b pawn push, my structure got significantly weaker. This is just a bad position. So after queen c3, I think I would have folded quite fast, but luckily Gellert responded with knight e4. In the game, it seemed actually, this move also seemed very scary, but it turned out to be like actually a vanilla move, kind of. Now after the game, we talked, we had a little analysis, and even he said like, oh, I thought I had a very good position, and I agreed with him. I thought like after this he had a great position, but it wasn't the case. And also how the game continued was also kind of like the proof. And now he gained a pawn back again, thinking that the end game is going to be better for him. So he took on c6, but probably keeping the tension in the center would have been a little bit better, or obviously it would have been a different game completely. So I don't know about better, but let's say bishop g7, g5, I go king b7, you go bishop g3. It's not that easy to solve the pin on the diagonal. E-file is under pressure, but at the same time, I don't think I need to be very too afraid, but this is a difficult position to be in, I would say, for both, but as black, I find this a bit more uncomfortable. Because after knight takes c6, so he does gain the pawn back, but this way I get to develop. So I have queen f6, which is a move that I saw, and I anticipated this line when he went with knight e4. So I did see all of this, and I was quite happy here because my bishop on the long diagonal is actually going to be great. So he went with rook d1 and bishop g7, and again, both of us thought that this position is better for white just because of the structure, but it's actually not the case because I'm quite active. And I think he pushed a little bit too much. Like he really wanted to beat me. Fair enough, of course. Again, he's white. He has more rating than me, and I mean, I guess it's and of course, like it's an open tournament. But I think he went a little bit overboard here. So knight b3, bishop h6, king d1, bishop f4. Now, of course, it's somewhat understandable even from positional aspect, because you're like, okay, I have this, I could have a great knight on d4, my structure is still a little bit better, but now my bishop got so active that I'm at least I'm good for a draw, or at least I have definitely equalized in this position, so I was quite happy here. And now he went with rook e6. Now knight d4 was, I feel like, was needed, was kind of like a must, but he went rook e6. When he played it, keep in mind, of course, I was very low on time again at this point. But I saw this, I was like, wait a second, like rook e6 is a mistake, because after bishop e5, the pawn is hanging on b2, and also now the rook on e6 is a little bit sketchy. Like, am I just going to trap? Like, at any point, if I can play king d7, the game is over. So g5, try to simplify the position there, but I have rook f7. And now you have to be really careful, because again, now I have king d7. And so it's a big problem for him. G takes f6, bishop takes b2. And now I'm just basically simply winning at this point, funnily enough, right? So he wanted to beat me so badly that he was willing to even lose the game, which is something that I applaud, but this one went a little too far, in my opinion. So rook g1, and I saw here the good move, the best move. So I obviously should have taken on f6, and this is something that I saw. Again, I was low on time. I had a couple of minutes here. I saw the move, and for whatever reason, I convinced myself that after rook takes g6, bishop takes h4, knight d4, white has decent compensation, and because, again, this is gonna be a maybe a weird excuse, but because I was so like out of shape in terms of like competing, and I was very like slow in most of the games, and my confidence was not high, to say the least. I just didn't trust myself. I was like, well, he has 3 pieces, he's active, I'm going to screw this up. Like, there's no way I'm not screwing this up. And I convinced myself that, oh, white has, I knew, like, objectively speaking, and of course I can evaluate the position correctly on a position like this, I knew I was better, but at the same time I was like, oh wow, white has more than enough compensation, which is just not true at all. I just simply go bishop d8, you go knight b5, I have king b8, and everything is covered, and I'm just pushing h4, h3, h2, h1, and it's a borderline game over. It would have been, it's like -2 or -3. Even after the game, he said that he was very concerned with bishop takes f6, and he was right. I was kind of right as well, like in terms of like, oh, I knew that this was the best move, but well, yeah, what can I say? I'm an idiot. So rook g8, and what I said about idiots, right? In my previous video, just don't be one. So anyway, c3, bishop takes c3, rook c6, rook c7. This one was, by the way, still fine. Like, I was still kind of winning here. So this is forced king e2. And so this is a move that I did consider in the game. I was still very low. I was even lower on time, so I was living off of my 30 seconds at this point. And so I just wanted to play a very like safe game. But I saw d4. D4 would have been the best. I missed this one, or kind of saw it, but I didn't know how good it was, and again, I just didn't feel like risking because I didn't trust myself. But after takes, so I say rook g5. Well, first of all, I can protect the pawns, like if I really wanted to, but I don't have to. I just give up the pawn, because again, what matters more? Activity matters. So I just go a5, rook h5, a4, knight c1 check, king d3, bishop b2, and now your knight is even gone. So, but just in general, right? How active? Like, I have active bishop, active rook, pawns are going. I think this is also GG. Like d4 is also GG. But I played bishop f6. By the way, I thought in the game, because I was very low on time, but I thought having low on time, I was like, okay, this is still safe. I'm gonna be up a pawn and very simple. But then I just missed that he has rook g6, rook f7, and rook h6. So I missed this one. So that was basically behind my motivation, was that I get to keep the pawn. Anyway, but my bishop is not going to be so awkward on c3, right? So I was like, oh, that's the idea. But after rook h6, I was like, oh, crap. I mean, he can just win the pawn back. And after bishop b7, I offered a draw because I knew I was going downhill. And also, objectively speaking, it's now it's completely equal. And then, of course, he accepted it. So yeah, that was round 6. That was the first game against Galliard. It was kind of like a roller coaster, of course. So he could have won had he played a little bit more precise in the middle game. My opening choice was really good. I kind of like sniped him, so to speak, like in a gaming term. His opening preparation, so that was smart on my end. And yeah, the lack of time management and lack of confidence kind of cost me half a point, but it is what it is. But I recovered hard, and so here we go. Let's immediately move on to game number 7, and yeah, let's analyze that game. So here we go, game number 7. I'm playing white. Let me flipperino the board, and my opponent is Julian Garrigu. Julian, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And playing white, he's like a 17, 18-year-old teenager, and his rating was very close to 2300, like 22 something high. And I went with knight f3, of course, the trusted line. And again, I picked the King's Indian attack, a line that I prepped for this tournament and served me right, or at least in this game. Knight c6, a4. So, of course, this is the same exact as game number 1. Now, in game number 1, my opponent took on e4. Julian, in this game, played b6. Now, so this is like the more standard King's Indian attack. e5, knight d7. And so I had a game like this, actually. Funnily enough, I had a game like this before. Actually, so last year I tried this opening, and I had the same exact position. And in that game, I played h4, which is the move, which is the correct way of playing. But here I was just, so confident, like, oh yeah, I analyzed this, and like I had a game like this, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I immediately, pretty much, which is not even me, like even if I know the lines, I still like, which is not great, not necessarily a great thing to do, but I tend to overthink even in those situations. And here in this game, I just immediately, right, almost like 97, okay, whatever. I'm very much aware of what's happening here, and I just played rook e7, rook e1, right? And then I started walking because he started thinking deeply, and and I didn't even recognize what was happening. I started walking again, and it was like 5 minutes went by. I'm still walking because I saw he didn't make a move, so I kept on walking around. And like 10 minutes went by. At this point, I was like, still like,
say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
What's the deal? Like, you just play some like bishop b6, bishop a6, queen c7, one of those. So like it kind of like reminded my thought process. Like, in a normal position, you just spend 15 minutes, and then I was like, why are you doing this? And then it just hit me. I was like, oh no, you idiot, you absolute dummy. The reason why you play h4, I mixed up the order. I thought it didn't matter. The reason why you started with h4, because if you don't play h4, you can figure it out, right? Comment down below. Comment down below. Tell me why was I an idiot? Why was I an idiot? Yeah. So obviously it's not that hard to figure out since h4 is the correct move. So what's the point of h4? What is the punishment here? So comment down below. It's a fun one. And then I was walking around and I was like, just don't do it. As you saw it in my afterthoughts, I was like, no, please don't do it, please don't do it. And I was slowly. I saw the clock that it was on my end, so it was my turn. I knew, but I didn't see his moves. I was slowly walking up to the board, and I was like, please don't, just one time. And then one time, I got there, and he played Queen C7. I was like, yes. I'm like so lucky. I'm so lucky. So yeah. And then immediately I played h4, and it was just a big sigh of relief. I was like, oh, thank you. So, okay, bishop b7, h5, h6, knight bd2. Here, so this is why the King's Indian attack it's a very complex opening. It's not like it's good for white. Like it's not that great, to be honest. Like it should be equal, even with this clever a4 inclusion. Like, but normally, especially if black is not really up to date, it's just not that easy to play, because white's gameplay is very straightforward. Like it was King's Indian attack was actually Fischer's one of favorite openings, and so it was very easy. It's just overall, it's just very easy to play this opening, right? I go knight f1, knight h2, knight g4, queen d2. You sack something on h6 if possible, and then that's it, like pretty much it. And then sometimes you add c3, d4, something along those lines, and it's great, right? So it's very easy to play. And if black is not super familiar with this one, they don't really know the right plans. Even if you're like a 2300 like this guy, he didn't really know the right plan. So he played rook ae8, which was a weird move. I kind of understood his reasoning behind it, or his idea behind it, but I kind of disagreed at the same time. The better move would have been rook fc8. So there's this nice little plan here with knight f1, queen d8, knight h2, and of course, okay, let's say black plays a6. Black can always play a6, but that's the plan. And after knight g4, so the whole point of rook fc8, queen d8 was to play queen f8. And queen f8 is just really clever, because queen f8, I know it looks weird, but the queen is weird anyway, almost on any squares in this structure. But on f8 is actually doing a great job covering this square. And now the sacrifices are not that easy, to make them work. And so, but if I don't sacrifice, he's just gonna play now b5 and c4 or d4, all kinds of stuff, and now it's everyone's game. So this is a very interesting plan. Anyway, knight bd2, rook ae8. That was a little bit weird. Knight f1, queen d8. And so at this point, I kind of like knew that he wasn't really, like, he didn't really know what he was doing. He had ideas, but it was just not that great. Now, I was also somewhat imprecise. I should add c3 here. I should add c3 here just to be able to play d4 and really cram black's position. I don't know why, to be honest, but I was kind of afraid of like f5 or f6, but I don't have to be, because I can just take the bishop, or the knight takes back, and now I have knight h4, and the light squares are a little bit weak. But just overall, I was a little bit afraid of the f-pawn move, and so I played bishop h3 because of it, but it's not that great because it allows black to play d4. And sure, I have the e4 square, but he also has this square, right? So, or this diagonal. So this is probably best to stop. Anyway, he went queen a8, which is reasonable. I played knight h2, and now he definitely should have played a d4. He definitely should have played d4. He didn't, and he played knight d8. Now I played c3, which is clever. Now I'm prepping d4 that he shouldn't have allowed. Now it's high time. It's just really, really crucial to play d4. If you don't play d4, I'm just gonna play d4 myself, and you're in trouble. And this is exactly what happens. So after let's say c takes d4, you play bishop d5. It's important to sacrifice a pawn to be able to, to activate the pieces. If you don't, again, we see the same kind of like theme here, that piece activity matters more, or even the most. He went king h7. He was quite defensive throughout the game. That kind of backfired because he didn't really challenge me, right? So that's the thing. I never had to like respond to his moves, right? So throughout the game, even when I was not really threatening, I was still a little bit more always annoying than him, and then he always felt like he had to respond, but that was not the case. When I was not attacking, he should have challenged me to something where I have to respond. But that's generally the goal of the game, right? That you want the opponent to respond to your moves and not the other way around. So that's, if you can manage that, that's awesome. After d4, I'm actually like borderline winning because my pieces are very good. My structure got much better, and it's just game over. So he played f5, which is a bad move, but of course he felt like he had to do something. Takes 6, knight e5, and now my structure got even better. I have a fantastic centralized knight with a beautiful outpost on e5. Knight e4, queen d3, king g6. So here I should have played f3. That was a much faster and simpler win. Knight f6, and now queen g6. And this is just a bad position. This is probably game over almost immediately. But I saw knight g6, and I was very happy about this line, and I kind of calculated all the way through, and I was satisfied with this. But objectively speaking, f3 was a better move. I did see f3. I just didn't do the same move order, right? So knight f6, knight e5. My mindset was that if he goes to f8, now we have queen g6, and it's the same position, pretty much, right? We just added basically another move, but it's the same. And now king h8, and now I go knight g4. In my mind, I still believe that this was a better defense for black, but this is just this is like +5 or 6. Like, black can't make a move. Like, it's so bad. Like, black cannot make a move. I'm getting rid of this defender, and I'm going to sacrifice here, and it's game over. So instead, out of desperation, he took on h5, which is just losing. Knight f7, he took on f4, which was probably incorrect. Like, he should have probably taken here with maybe the king even, but like, everything is losing probably. He took here, he probably even missed knight h6, a nice intermediate move. Takes back, I have g takes f4, and now it's game over. Your pieces are still terrible, and your king is even weaker than my king, so it's just game. King h8, bishop takes e6, rook, knight takes e6, rook takes e6, bishop f8, rook ae1. And I genuinely expected him to resign. I thought that on this level, even on my level and his level, I thought that this is a game where this is a position where we resign. But I mean, no hard feelings. Of course, you can fight. I thought like this is a good position to resign, but he kept on fighting. Fair enough. Takes, bishop c6, knight g4, bishop d6, bishop d7, and here I overcomplicated things. So again, let's play the same game. Yeah, let's play the same game. Comment down below what is the easiest win of your life. Like, it's so basic. I don't even know why I didn't see it. And I had like, I think in this game, my time frame was actually decent. I still believe that I was at least 10 or 15 minutes even, or I don't know, around that. Like, in 10 minutes you can't figure out this move, then we have a problem. But okay, I played rook e2, so comment down below what you think is the easiest winning move. I played rook e2, Bishop g7, knight e5, bishop takes, pawn takes, queen f8, queen g6, bishop takes a4, rook h2, and then now he resigned because this is unstoppable, and he either gets a checkmate or loses the queen, so game over. Yeah, so this was round 7, and I honestly think that I played this game quite well. Minus the opening or my little hiccup, I guess. But overall, I played this game quite well. The Kia worked, right? King's Indian attack worked. I attacked, as the name suggests. So yeah, it worked out quite well. I felt like I was really strong. I was really powerful. And then last 2 rounds, reality just happened. But no spoilers just yet. I will see you in those videos. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, send me one of those. And yeah, hope you learned something as usual. See you in the next one. Take care, guys.